Hey everybody, Chris Johnson here with SERVPRO of Fall River, and I'm with our marketing rep, Anna Diarusha.
Hi.
And more importantly, we're with Fall River Fire Chief John Lynch. So we know it's summertime. There are a lot of safety tips that need to be told to people to make sure that they're safe, especially this time of year. And we wanted to touch base with the chief so he could let us know some important things that they should be aware of. So first thing I wanted to have you touch on is basically when it comes to outdoor fire safety, as far as cooking and things like that, what are some of the things that you can tell people?
Well, one of the biggest things is like the outdoor grilling, whether it's a gas grill or a charcoal grill. People have to be aware that we've had several fires due to improper use of those grills where they're unattended. What you have to realize is that grills by law can only be on a first floor deck that has access to the ground. So either it's on ground level or there's a stairwell down to the first floor. So you can't have any grill on a second floor deck or a porch, and it can't be on any first floor deck that has a overhang or a porch over it, roof, and that's for safety reasons. The other thing is when you do have a grill, it should be at least 10 feet away from a building. And that's important because we had a fire about 15 years ago, I remember this very well. The person was cooking on their back deck and they had the grill right against the wall. A neighbor came by and the person left it unattended. They went to the front of the building to talk to this neighbor. Forgot about they had food on the grill next to the house. Well, next thing you know, he looks over and he sees his house on fire. So these are important things that you have to pay attention to. And also with gas grills, you should always make sure that before you light it, that the lid is up. Never turn the gas on with the lid down because then the gas collects on it. Somebody goes to light it, it's like a bomb going off. And several people have been hurt by that. With charcoal, you have to remember, never ever use that inside a house. And we've had people try to use it inside a house. Obviously charcoal produces carbon monoxide, right? It's colorless, it's odorless, it's a silent killer. But obviously you wouldn't want to use any grill inside anyhow. Always outdoors, always on the first floor, 10 feet away from any type of building or structure. So those are the important things about gas and charcoal. And also, if I can say, Chris, with the charcoal, once you're done cooking, you should put the lid on it, close everything up, and should leave it like that for at least 48 hours before you even attempt to take the charcoal briquettes out.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people think they can just dump that in a bag or something. They think it's out, but it's not. So a lot of fires get started by that. And always dispose of it in a metal can with a cover. Right? And this way, it's a lot safer. Some of the other things are like the chimeneas, and they're pretty popular today. Now, if you're going to do any type of outdoor chimney action where you got wood going, everybody likes the ambiance of it, you have to understand that in Fall River, we have a no burning policy. The state allows chimeneas. So the Fall River Fire Department tries to tolerate that. So first thing you should know is that a chimney or a fire pit should be UL listed, and that's important. You don't want to start burning wood in just any old pit in the middle of your yard, because that's dangerous. Remember, this is a city, this isn't the country. The buildings are close together, all right? So number one, those chimneys, those burning pits should be UL listed. That means they have screens over them to arrest the sparks that might happen. You should only burn good, clean wood. So that doesn't mean plywood or refuse wood. The other thing is you cannot leave it unattended. And also by law, it's supposed to be 75 feet away from any building for obvious reasons. I said that we're tolerant in the city of Fall River. If some neighbor complains and they say, my neighbor has an open fire pit, we will respond, and obviously we'll have to tell whoever has that they can't have the fire pit because their neighbors will complain. So first of all, comply with all the laws. Number two, get along with your neighbors. That's important, you know. So these are things you have to watch out with a chimney or an open pit. The other thing is never ever leave it unattended, just like your grills, all right? You're gonna wait for that to go out, and hopefully you're gonna put it out with water also before you leave for the night. So those are some outdoor tips on fire safety, Chris. And I think they're important because every year we run into problems with it. just the things we've been talking about. So.
Well, thank you so much, Chief. Those are some really helpful tips. Now, one question I also had for the commercial, residential homeowners, business owners, what are some safety tips you can give for them in regards to fire safety in the summer?
Well, fire safety, we always say this, whether it's summer, winter, or in the spring. Make sure you have working smoke detectors and also carbon monoxide detectors. Those are the most important things. The next most important thing is make sure all your exits are clear. I don't know how many commercial buildings we go into, and especially residential, where we go to stairwells and people use those as storage areas. That's not what they're for. They're there in case something happens, an emergency, and you need to get out. And also, we need to get in. Right. So when your house is on fire, we could encounter a stairwell that is cluttered with furniture, boxes, and it makes it tough to make entry into it and put that fire out. So those are things I always think about. The other thing I think about is it's hot in the summer. Everybody wants an air conditioner, right? And here's something we see all the time, and this is something that we're going to put an immediate stop to. There are people that have windows that are their fire exits, right? There's a fire escape right there. People will put their air conditioner in that window.
Oh, no.
Yes, exactly. And that's their second means of egress. So that is definitely a big no-no. We understand it's hot. You need air conditioners, right, Chris?
Yeah.
But what you really need to do is make sure that air conditioner is good not only to cool the apartment, but for your electrical service. Don't buy this monstrous air conditioner that takes a lot of power, and the power to your apartment is very small, if you know what I mean. Make sure it's checked out by an electrician. So it's not too large, it's not drawing too much current, because that is a fire hazard. The other thing would be a fire hazard is if there's a long extension cord to that air conditioner. Make sure that air conditioner and that cord are rated for one another. And again, this goes back to the UL listing. So these are important points to remember about some of the stuff indoors.
All right, great. They're really important tips. Thank you. The last thing, I know before the video we were talking about something else that's extremely important for you guys to mention to people is water safety. So what are some of the water safety tips you'd like to give people?
Well, I want to start with like toddlers. Every year, and it's a tragedy, children from the age of 1 to 4 die in pools. It's like the #1 cause of accidental, preventable death by young children.
Yep.
And it's because they're left unattended, or the pools are left unattended. So everybody's pool should have basically a 5-foot fence around it, 4 sides, with lockable gates, self-closing gates. And if you have young children, you should always never ever leave them unattended. Because some people have a house and that 4th side to that pool is actually the house. And I don't know how many times children in the house, they look, they see the pool, they open the sliding door, out they go. The parents think they're indoors and they're not. Next thing you know, there's a tragedy that happens. So these are things that is very sad, but it happens every year. So never leave your children unattended at a pool. And again, make sure that pool is well secured. Some people put alarms on those doors and those locks so that anytime they're open up, an alarm will go off, and that'll make you aware that there could be a child that's, going out to that pool. And even if you're with that child at the pool, it only takes a second for something to happen. Whether it's in the pool or the ocean, never leave a child within farther than an arm's length away. And you should always have your eyes on, because in a matter of seconds, that child can fall in, get swept out, and you don't want to see that happen. Now with the older children, we find that it's usually like open bodies of water where the tragedy happens. It's usually adolescents that don't know how to swim very well. So the first thing I would say, teach your kids how to swim. There are many good programs. There's YMCA, there's the Boys Club, there's the Red Cross, there are camps. Teach those kids how to swim. It's going to take more than a year. I don't think it's going to happen in a couple of lessons. But again, even if they are good swimmers, that doesn't prevent tragedy from happening. So they should always swim in supervised areas. They should always swim with a buddy. And hopefully, before they dive in the water anywhere, they check out the pond or the lake or whatever it is, make sure there's no obstructions. So these are the things that everybody should be aware of. And if you do run across somebody that's in trouble, it's reach, throw, go. So if somebody's in trouble, you try and reach them with a pole, a stick, a towel, a piece of rope, anything you can to hopefully pull them back into the shore. If you don't have anything available at that time, then it's called throw. If you have a small cooler, a beach ball, anything that you could throw that person for flotation just for them to grab onto, that would be the next thing you do. The last thing is really for us, and we call it go. If the first two methods don't work, we'd like to send somebody that would be a diver in the water. Or if you think you're capable, if you had a rowboat, row out to the person. Otherwise, don't turn one drowning into two drownings. Leave it for the expert.
Right.
So you never bring more victims to the scene.
Yeah.
That's a famous saying in the fire service.
Chief Lynch, thank you so much for sharing these important tips. They've been so helpful. Thank you for your time. I know you're really busy, but we so appreciate you taking this time to inform the community about some tips that they need to be aware of, not just for the summer, but throughout the year.
Thank you. I appreciate what you're doing here today, because if we can save one life, it's worth it.
Yeah.
And I hope some of these tips go out to some of the people and they pay attention to them, and hopefully we can avert some of these tragedies that happen every year.
Right. We so appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, these tips help minimize how many people have to call, SERVPRO and you guys.
Yeah.
But in the event that someone has to call either one of us, we'll do everything we can, and we're truly ready for whatever happens.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
Anna,
time.
for
so
having
much,
you.
Chief Lynch.
Take care.